your first blush thoughts on the keys to the national championship game between Ohio State and Notre Dame are what?
Notre Dame's got to find a way to get a couple of turnovers, I feel like. They're really good in special teams. Maybe they can get a big play there, and that could, be one of those turnover kind of like situations. I feel like their defense is playing so well. They've lost really good players. Benjamin Morrison, their best cornerback. Certainly Riley Mills, their best defensive lineman. But they found a way to be very disruptive still, and they play a lot of man coverage, which is interesting. They play as much as anybody pretty much in the playoff, and I think it was effective against Penn State, except Penn State didn't have a receiver who had a catch, but Penn State's receivers aren't Ohio State's receivers.
Heck
right?
No. Oh my God, I don't think anybody's is, right?
No, and if you play a lot of man, you run the risk of having the running backs run wild. And Ohio State's running backs are really, really good too.
Yes.
I mean, Penn State had a great 1-2 punch, so does Ohio State. And Texas made a concerted effort to try to shut down Jeremiah Smith.
Well, it worked mostly.
It did.
Right?
And then Carnell Tate kind of went off and had a big game, and the running backs played well. I think talking to coaches who played Ohio State, they're like, Jeremiah Smith will kill you if you don't try to. The other guys can be a problem.
Right.
It's just, it's one guy is the most talented guy in college football. The other guys are 5-star receivers who are really good too. They're just not at his level. But I think it's a pick your poison thing. But, talking to coaches who played both of them, one of them was very adamant. He was like, Notre Dame is way better than I thought they were. And, you watch them in warmups, and they look good, but they're better. They're playing with a lot of confidence. There's a belief they have. They're really well coached. And I think that's the stuff that I think people, may not have a great feel for. One of the coaches I talked to as a defense coordinator played him. He was like, they were the best offensive line we played. Individually, I think there's other guys who have better offensive linemen, but they're so well coached, play so well together. And I think that is a credit to Marcus Freeman and the staff he's put together. I mean, they're playing really well right now, but again, the spread's almost 10 points. And can they slow down Ohio State with the firepower Ohio State has? And again, they have a special player on their side of the ball in Jeremiah Love. I mean, the coaches I've talked to think he is as talented as any running back in college football. I mean, he had one of the best short runs you will ever see against Penn State. 2-yard run, breaks like 5 tackles. I mean, he's a legit track guy who's become really physical and runs hard, and that's part of the identity of the place. So can't wait to see, what Marcus Freeman and that staff has up their sleeve for Ohio State.
I've got Bruce Feldman in The Athletic here on the Rich Eisen Show. Is there any way to go back to the last time they played a couple of years ago to use that as a template, or no, not really?
I feel like
things are different.
Yeah, things are different right now. In this regard, I mean, what helped them, I feel like a little bit was, remember there was that goofy subplot about Lou Holtz and kind of calling out Ryan Day, and then Ryan Day in the post game, where's Lou Holtz?
Yeah, he spent the first 90 seconds of his post game interview all heated and barking at I don't even think was it the real Lou Holtz or was it the McAfee Lou Holtz?
No, it was Pat's Lou Holtz.
That's
Pat's Lou Holtz is fantastic.
It's one of the, by the way, some of the best television that's out there. And if I'm Marcus Freeman, I'm reaching out down downstate to see if Pat can get him back on the air. Just anything to get in Ryan Day's kitchen, if you can. So
I think what definitely helped them was much like Michigan. It's like when they're in their heads, when they're trying to prove something, as opposed to just seemingly just win the game.
Well, if I'm Ryan Day, I would exorcise that person from my personality and being. It's all worked out the last 3 games otherwise.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I think they have to do is just be the best version of themselves. They don't have to prove anything to anybody about like dominating the line of scrimmage or trying, Notre Dame is a very physical, tough team. You know what? So is Ohio State. I mean, I don't think whether they rush for 250 yards, and they might, or throw for 300. I mean, they could do both.
You know what's the toughest thing to do is win the national championship. And if you're the national champion, who the hell cares what adjective
Absolutely.
they use to term your team? It just doesn't matter. You know what I mean? And I don't think anybody looks at Jack Sawyer and thinks he's not tough. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think anybody looks at Downs and says he's not tough. I mean, he lays the wood.
He's a brilliant player.
Right.
I mean,
so nobody thinks that.
Yeah,
I don't know who does, but
they have a bunch of special players on that side of the ball. They're really well coached.
Yeah.
And you look at what they've done on this playoff run. I mean, they've made good teams look very ordinary. I mean, Tennessee did not look like they belonged on the same field with Ohio State. They didn't look like they wanted to be on the same field with Ohio State, right? And then Oregon, they sack Dylan Gabriel 8 times, completely shut down the run game. That's a good offense.
That game was over in 5 minutes.
Yeah, and then they also exposed the defense. Like J.J. Smith goes wild in that game, but I think some of the stuff that they schemed up, I think, were things that just exploited some matchups they wanted to exploit. And so, right now it feels like they're in their sweet spot too. I mean, I do think it would be a sizable upset if Notre Dame would win this game. But I think if you'd asked anybody a month ago or 2 months ago, would Notre Dame beat Georgia by 2 touchdowns? I think nobody would have believed it.
Catch the Rich Eisen Show every single day on the Roku channel, 12 to 3 Eastern, for free.